Hi, I'm Bob the hippie gardener. If you're a gardener, come on. I'm going to do a little bit of a garden tour today. So we have a bunch of stuff that we planted in another video sometime back, so we'll talk about that a little bit. We planted back on the 31st of December, we planted some spinach. This is the giant noble type of spinach. And you can see it's growing like crazy. The frost didn't hurt it, didn't have any effect on it whatsoever. We got a little bit of cilantro growing on here. And then these little Tom Thumb lettuces that we're going to be using and eating real soon here. These are, we have some bok choy in here and some pak choy in here. And then we have some carrots. These are Uzbek golden carrots here. And we're going to plant some of those a little bit later today. And what I've done is I plant radishes in between. You can kind of see that. And then I have some onions. These are all planted. This section of this garden is all planted on the square foot method, which is not what I normally do, but I just thought I'd try it this year just for fun. So this front part is all in the square foot. And then back here, and then this is just the normal way I do it. I normally plant 2 rows of carrots all the way down, and then let them grow up and shade the ground in between them. So there are some carrots growing in here if you look really closely. A couple weeds too, but lots of carrots growing in there. And these are called Giants of Colomar. So these are supposed to get about that long, so we'll see. Should be able to do it in this bed. The other thing that's going on is we have some peas coming up over here that we planted some time ago. At least the ones that the critters didn't eat. We had little chipmunks in here having a feast on these. So we also have the asparagus coming up. So it's that time of year where the asparagus is coming up. And you can see that this is some asparagus that we planted 3 years ago. And I may take a spear or 2 of this year. It takes about 3 years to really get it going. So I'm going to take a few this year. And we got a couple more beds of it over here that are only a year old. And you can see in the second year, they are a little bit smaller. They're about pencil size or a little smaller even. And then this one is a little bit bigger down here. And then these are just baby ones that were just planted here, which don't look too good actually, but maybe they'll make it. We'll see. So this will be a bed in a couple of years. And then this is some others that we planted. And this one is looking pretty tempting. We may take him today. That looks pretty edible to me. I think he'll be all right. So we've also got a bunch of onions planted over here. And kind of in a what you would call a square foot gardening pattern, but it's just in a staggered row pattern that I like to use. And these are called Kelsey onions, and they will be big ones. They will be big ones. At least we're hoping. So that's a little garden tour. The other thing I wanted to talk about today is we got all these plants up. So at some point you're going to have to feed them, right? So we talked about some fish emulsion fertilizer for your plants inside. Not so much a good thing for outside because it does attract coons, so you got to be careful with it outside. But I have an electric fence, so I could use it outside. But instead I like to use Manure Tea. And somebody says, what? Manure Tea? Well, come on, I'll show you what that is. The hipster Nate behind the camera there has some chickens, and I just happen to have access to some manure. But you can probably find manure any place you want to, some chicken manure or rabbit manure. One of the things I've done in the past is I've advertised on Craigslist under the farming section, and people say, yeah, sure, come over and clean out my rabbit hutch. And if you want to go over there and clean out the rabbit hutch, you can get some free natural manure. So that's what I do. And so this is just some chicken manure. It's got some bedding with it. We put some straw and stuff in there for it. And so I have a 5-gallon bucket here with some water in it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put about, I don't know, a scoop of this, probably be about a quart maybe, in there. And we're going to let that sit for a couple days. Now that'll soak and kind of brew up, and you'll come up with a very strong manure tea. I don't use it directly on the plants at all. What I'll do is I'll take a quart bottle of this and put it in a 5-gallon bucket and then water with the plants that way to give them just a real diluted solution of it. Sometimes though when I do that, I like to make this real dilute but a really complete fertilizer. So there's a couple of things you can do other than add chicken manure. You can add some compost to it. You can add some soil to it actually that just puts some other nutrients in there. So that's a couple of things that you can do. The other thing that you can do is you can buy some organic fertilizer. I have a couple of them over here. So if you don't have access to manure, what you can do is you can do these organic fertilizers. These are a couple from Burpee. We'll have some links down below on this, some affiliate links, and these are organic and all natural. And this one is a soluble plant food with the 623 nitrogen, potash, and phosphorus and potash. And this one is 524. This one I think is a little bit more for flowering possibly, I'm not sure. But either one of these can be used. They're organic and they're all-purpose fertilizers. One's are just a little bit stronger than the other. And you follow directions on these. But even when I do that, I like to dilute it because I figure my soil is really good and they really don't need that much food if I have good soil. So I try to keep good soil. And one of the things you can do is make sure your soil has a lot of humus in it. And so I like to add to my manure tea a little bit of Humeric Acid. This is an organic little compound you can buy on Amazon. And I just put about a tablespoon in a 5-gallon bucket. So that's what we'll do here. That's not label directions. The label directions are 2 milliliters per liter. But I don't use that. I'm just using it as a supplement. So I'm going to use about a tablespoon in here. And it's just real dark stuff. Now you want to cover this when you're done so that you don't get any flies and mosquito larvae in it. And so I use an old lid for this. And this is my old beer brewing fermenter. So it does have a hole in it, so I just usually put a piece of something over it to keep the bugs out of it. Now about a week you can use this, and you can use it, like I say, take about a quart of this, put it in a 5-gallon bucket when you water your garden, and you might want to do that every other week depending upon how much rain you get. So that's one way you can make your own fertilizer or use fertilizer from the store to fertilize your plants.